Yep, there we go.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
You-
We'll get a start one day, which is just completely fluid, and we'll just go. I'll click that go live button on YouTube, and everything will work. But yeah, guys, if you are just joining the start of us today, welcome to. Oh, I can't get myself in shot. Welcome to this week's episode of Flight Sim Weekly. We've got a new co-presenter this week, the one, the only, Ryan Wotu, also known as Ryan Simulations.
Ryan Simulations, yeah.
You know, I'll get it right one day.
Yeah, you will get it. Yeah.
Today we've got a very, very big episode because this week there's been quite a bit of drama, I think it's fair to say, in the Flight Sim community. Ryan nods sussily in agreement.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, there has been. Yes, many things have happened. Interesting. Yeah.
We've got Evan from the Flight Sim Association who's going to be joining us today. We've also got a brilliant discussion about CaptainSim and their new 777, and also the drama that's been going in with FlightSim.to. It's been a very interesting week for CaptainSim.
Yes.
We're also going to be talking about the PMDG DC6, the 737 progress update, Airsoft's announcements on what they're going to be doing next, and of course, we're going to keep you up to date with all what's happened this week in flight simulation. We're joined today, though, by Evan Reiter from, I probably pronounced that wrong, but I can't do names.
You got it.
Oh, I have.
Yep.
The title's wrong on the stream, but yeah, that's all right. We're joined by Evan today, who's from Flight Sim Association. So a few weeks ago, I said on an episode with Origami Studios, well, Evan, do you want to tell us what you got from that?
Yeah, I mean, you basically sort of threw the gauntlet down and you challenged me and you said, come on and sell it to me and Tom. And, I listened to a couple of previous episodes and listened to some things that were not correct, some things that were bang on. And I thought, I'm open to talking about anything Flight Sim. I love having these conversations. So sure, let's chat. So I sent you a quick email. It sounded like you guys were open to it, and here we are.
So Evan is the founder of, a few weeks ago, when he started.
Are we renaming it to be called Learning from Mistakes Incorporated?
Oh,
that's what it looks like on the screen.
Maybe. I need to fix those headlines. I'll do it in a second. But so Evan is the co-founder of Flight Sim Association, which you may know as the Something Big is Coming. But Flight Sim Association didn't just come out of nowhere. So
it did not.
What was the story behind FSA coming together?
Yes, for those who don't know me, my main role in the Flight Sim community for many years has been as the community manager of Boston Virtual ARTCC on VATSIM, so a VATSIM VACC. We are probably the only one that has an integrated pilot and ATC community, so we're like half kind of virtual airline in a way, and then of course half controller community. And that group I've been part of for probably about almost 15 plus years now in various capacities. And several years ago, some of the folks from that group started an unrelated project called Flight Sim Expo. And that is the largest North American flight simulation conference, much like the one you see in Cosford or the one that we have in Lelystad. There's one in Australia as well. Not too many of them around, but they are here and there. And so at that show, the most recent one in Orlando in 2019, we had about 1,700 people. And at that one, which was our second show, we really made a point of advertising. So we didn't just say, okay, we're running a Flight Sim show, all you simmers, you should show up. We actually went out and did local radio advertising. We partnered with two major organizations in the US, the EAA and GLIME, to send out emails to real pilots to say, hey, if you're interested in getting set up a Flight Sim, here's a place to go. We partnered with a very popular YouTuber called Flight Chops to do a video with us to talk about the value of simulation. So we brought in about, I'm going to say 25% of that audience was brand new simmers. And they came to the show having never experienced this before. And when they went there, they basically said to us, this was cool. I really enjoyed this. like met so many cool people, all these developers. Now I'm going back home. It was in Orlando. And they're like, I'm going back home to New York. I'm going back home to Boston. Look, I'm a pilot. I don't really know computers all that well. I just wish there was like a place I could go to where someone would help me set up a sim, or where I could actually find, more of these add-ons. Was there a guide? Is there a YouTube channel for Flight Simulator, right? And we're like, oh, is there a YouTube channel for Flight Simulator? Yes, there's like 1,000, right? These people are just brand new. They're pilots. They're not necessarily, part of our community. And what Flight Simulation Association was born from is those questions. How can we make it just a little bit easier for those who are new to our community to find out about the top developers, the content creators, the news sites, all the stuff that we've kind of come to take for granted? That's a lot to digest for someone who's brand new.
And I guess when Microsoft Flight Simulator was released in August last year, the need for that was exposed ever more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I actually use that example all the time when I'm talking to developers, because look where we are with MSFS right now. We've got lots of great scenery because, hey, if you're a senior developer, you love it, right? There's a whole simulator full of terrible airports. And so you can just go in with some fantastic tools, and with not as much effort as in the past, you can make them look stunning, and you can put them in the Microsoft store in front of 1 million people. Like, this is just a dream come true if you're a senior developer.
It's a lot easier to monetize that as well, isn't it?
Right.
Than it
But
has
if you're
been
an
previously.
aircraft developer, not so much, right? Because the SDK, is it there? Is it not there? Is it right? Is it wrong? How much hacking do you have to do? And as I understand it, it's much more difficult to design airplanes, which is why, here we are almost a year in, and we maybe have sort of one realistic add-on, and not a whole lot more than that, which is not that different from FSX, right? But nevertheless, it's very different from what we see today in P3D and X-Plane. And so imagine if, when that launch happened, which was actually the Sunday of Flight Sim Expo in 2019, and I was there in the room with all the developers when the trailer hit, and everyone was shocked. Like, Orbix was there with us, Aerosoft was there with us. I was talking to all of them, and they're like, what the heck is this? So nobody really knew it was coming, or if they did, they're all very good at lying about it. But the truth is, if we had an association like this with a bunch of developers together, could we have gone to Microsoft and said, hey guys, we actually know the community because we've been here for the past 25 years, and we need an SDK, or we need this, or we need that? Would we be in a different place? I like to think there's opportunity there. What's happened instead is you have all these individual developers approaching Osobo, and we're getting there. We're making progress. PMDG, we just saw some news about that, which we're going to talk about, and I mentioned Aerosoft already. But it's not the same as if we had a native SDK right from the outset. Would we, have maybe a Quality Wings product by now? Would we have a TFDI design product by now if we had a central place where all these developers could connect to tackle some of these big issues?
Yeah, I think definitely. I personally think, and I think I've said this before in the podcast, I think the premise of FSA is absolutely amazing because it does link so many things together in a way that I've been around in flight simming for, I can't count how many years now. Like, I've been around since I was 8, I think. But
so
to
what,
have
2
all
years?
those resources available. But I guess it's time we should discuss that marketing campaign. Something big is coming. Now, I must ask, where did the idea for that come from?
That was literally an off-the-cuff comment that the co-founder of FSA, Phil, and I'm not throwing him under the bus because I was part of it too. It was an off-the-cuff comment that we made in one of our meetings. I forget which of the developers we were talking to when we were pitching this idea. And he kind of said, wouldn't it be cool if, a bunch of people kind of posted like something big is coming, or like, look out for something next week. And I don't think, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you've been around for a while, so have I don't think there's ever been a time when we've seen Aerosoft, X-Plane, P3D, I could list them all these competing companies posting the same thing. Can you think of a time we've ever done that?
I can't, honestly. I've always seen Aerosoft and people locking horns against each other more than anything. Especially X-Plane and P3D. You got Lockheed and Laminar, and then you had VATSIM, and you had all these different organisations you'd never seen work together before.
And it was, really kind of so Phil and I were talking about the idea of doing something big is coming, and I made the banner. So I'm not throwing him under the bus because I was involved. I made the banner. Wish I hadn't a little bit, but it was interesting because, we sent it out to developers on something like a Friday, and we kind of said like, hey, if you want to post it, okay? And then a few of them, I think nothing actually happened for the first 2 days. It was like a Sunday afternoon, and Phil kind of sent me a Discord message. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this anywhere?" I'm like, "No, I haven't seen it anywhere." And he's like, "Well, should we follow up?" And I'm like, "Look, I don't really want to do it. I don't think it's important. Like, who's going to pay attention to this post? Like, it's going to be irrelevant. But you know what? If you really want to, like, you can send a follow up." So he did. He followed up with like 2 people. Like, I think it was Aerosoft, and I forget who the other one was, maybe X-Plane. And like, it just exploded. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And it's like being posted everywhere, and all these people are commenting. And there was a huge thread on AvSim about it. I mean, it just totally came from
we were
nowhere.
discussing this before the show. As a community, we don't get a lot of exciting things thrown at us, and like something big is coming has so many, because especially when you had Lockheed and Laminar working on this. I remember a lot of rumours I saw was they were going to come together, they were going to make a sim that was going to beat MSFS. Some of the rumours that were flying around were crazy, honestly.
Yeah, everyone thought crazy things like big aircraft, stuff like, oh, this, new simulator, someone said, stuff like that. Mad.
Yeah, and not only that, but the ingenuity of some people. So it was within 24 hours, and I mean, people went back and they found like requests for proposals that we had made on like logo design websites from like a year and a half ago, and they found it went into our code, and they were looking at meta tags. Like, it was really cool. I mean, when you put
people look for anything, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, you put the power of all the developers together, look at how many people we can reach, and then you sort of set the community to something and look at how they solve it. Like, that was actually really cool. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not, out here saying, oh, this was the best marketing campaign of my life. I wouldn't do it again, I don't think. But I mean, for me, it was really shocking. For a lot of the developers, it was really shocking. I don't think any of us realized, what's the power that we have if we all choose to work together about something. So I remember Navigraph did this thing a while back, Simmers Without Borders, I think it was called, right at the beginning of COVID. They were using computer technology to help process, I thought, something to do with COVID vaccinations. And so imagine if we had done that like then, right? And look at the Navigraph survey. That's a great example of how all these companies work together. We get 22,000 or 24,000 responses on a survey. That's huge. Like, that's a really big number. And so I just don't think that we as a collective group of
we don't see much collaboration.
Yeah.
And especially as coming as someone who's mostly used P3D until I started recently venturing into X-Plane, collaboration is unheard of.
Yeah. I think that's true.
I have VATSIM, I have the FS Labs, which is integrated in, but then PMDG won't integrate with that. PMDG won't integrate with GSX. There's all these different things that you have to use. Yeah. And even just seeing them work together on the social media campaign, I think that to me reached out and made me think, hang on, something is up. And like, I guess it sort of got caught up on a hype train, if you will.
For sure it
did. Because something big is coming was something that was definitely could be interpreted in so many ways.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. And having done marketing in the past, in flight simulation, I know how you can put a little thing up. Like, we did a World Cup of UK airports and we got 1,500 votes. Like, honestly, little things can blow up in flight simming.
And then there's like really good things, like really good quality things sometimes.
Like Simmers Without Borders, like you said.
Sure, or whatever, like that just, kind of go by the wayside. And I think that's even more true like now than it might have been 2 years ago. I think COVID has totally changed how social media is used and just the amount of time that people have had to become content creators. Like, I think in some ways, the MSFS store has kind of centralized things because a lot of add-ons are in there. So like, that's really cool. On the other hand, everyone has become a Twitch streamer, everyone has become a YouTuber now. And so we're kind of losing a little bit of that togetherness because we're all like, I want to do my own channel, I want to do my own thing. And I'm out there saying like, that's good. Like, have your own perspective, but don't only look at your own perspective. Let's also think, bigger picture. Developers are much better about it now, but when we got them together in a room in, I'm going to say it was 2015, it wasn't even me, it was DeAndre, who at the time was running Air Daily X and is now with Milviz. That time that we had about 25 developers in the room was the first time many of them had ever spoken to each other. And I'm talking big names, like this was Orbix and TFDI Design. Like, it was big name people. They'd never talked before. Now, this is back in 2015. We're better now. But, how many times have we seen it where like one developer starts an airport and another developer starts the same airport? You're like, why did you both doing this airport? Couldn't you have done a different one so I could have some choice, right?
Yeah, I think definitely. But equally, a lot of people feel like there should be competition. So I know we've had Aerosoft Heathrow in the UK for ages, and you'll probably have heard me in the podcast before saying if Flight Tamper or Flightbeam or anybody did a
I
Heathrow,
know.
I would throw money
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I don't understand why they're not.
um, because they are so much better quality than the product we have now.
Yeah, it's old and it's.
And I think it is fair to say, like you said, that coming together is something that is definitely something we wish to see more. And I was watching your Aerosoft presentation, a little bit of it, and I saw that graph which showed how many people had purchased MSFS compared to the legacy Sims. And I think it is right calling them legacy Sims now because Microsoft Flight Sim is the future. I
yeah.
mean,
I don't know. I think it's a big part of the future. I don't think X-Plane's going anywhere.
I think we're going to see a lot of competition because I know Ryan uses X-Plane.
I'm a big X-Plane, yeah. I still
There
think
you go.
X-Plane's the future. I think X-Plane 12 is the future. Yep, I think I thought it was going to be like MSFS and X-Plane 12, kind of the two big things, and then P3D. I'm not too sure about them. I just still
Just
think
bought
that those
Sharklets.
developers. I
Yeah,
think those developers will go to. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I can't. I don't
but
see
remember,
P3D V6 being, as good as what X-Plane. I don't know. I'm not sure.
then again, like P3DV5 was the first simulator to have all up-to-date airports basically last year.
I
you
do
think about it.
think, but equally, P3D V5 was rushed slightly, from what
Yeah,
I
a little bit. Well,
understand,
I think
to
maybe
get
they
it
were
out
they were
before
trying to get
Microsoft
ahead of
got there.
something. Yeah, but also remember, Lockheed Martin, like that's who they are, right? So their business is not necessarily exclusively consumer. Their business is a big part commercial and supporting the military. So I don't know what that means. I don't have any more insight than the average person would, but that's a huge market. And you see a lot of developers like Milviz is one, X-Plane is another. Their
They've got to be able
business
to
is
deliver
supported.
reliable products ultimately for the users
So
they have.
I missed the first part of that.
They have to be able to deliver a reliable product, especially if it's been used in that military sort of
Yeah,
context.
yeah, and that supports a lot of their development. Like Milviz doesn't. I think I don't want to speak for them again, but I think let me just not speak about Milviz. I'll just speak generally that those developers who are, in the commercial space, whether that be military, whether that be civilian, like flight school training, that's what funds a lot of their development. And the stuff that we see that they are selling us is like just a break even. But their money oftentimes comes from the commercial side. There's a lot of developers that are like that, kind of hiding in plain sight in the community, which is great for us because we get the benefit of all that work that
I mean,
someone else
Ross
is paying them for.
Carlson, who does a lot of the clients with AtSim,
Yep.
he does a lot of his work commercially.
Yeah, and doesn't charge us anything for VATSIM. Like we got the best deal out of anyone in that.
So we had this big campaign and everyone was getting hyped up. And then launch day hit. And I know you said a lot of people had sort of got the idea. But equally, well, how did you find the reaction after launch to FSA?
Yeah, well, it was a tough couple of days for us for sure. We've since talked to a lot of people, done a lot of thinking about it, and so far really nobody has come up and said like, I was expecting that, I saw that coming. Everyone is like, that was a surprise to me. I think in my mind there were two possibilities, like either it was going to be relatively successful or just people would kind of like let it pass and say I'm not that interested, like fair enough. Definitely wasn't expecting the level of interest that there was. And I know, we heard some people, I know there were some people that were upset and offended, and like legitimately to those people, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm sorry because I didn't mean to. If that's the case, if you were upset by it, like that's my bad. We probably wouldn't do it like that again if we ever had the chance. However, lots of people also, much more quietly and not out there where other people could see, but in my emails, lots of people saying this is great, don't shut it down. We had about 150 people subscribe in the first sort of couple weeks, and that was during this period of time when there wasn't a free model and where theoretically everyone was out there with their pitchforks. Very different experience from what we saw. And again, I was saying earlier before the stream, talked to lots of people from varied parts of the community, content creators, some of the sort of more community-oriented developers, some of the big-time developers that play in the real-world space, and everyone's like, "This is great, just keep with it. Like, let this go. This is how launches go." We heard a lot of that, and that was really helpful. I don't know that we would have made it through without that support, to be honest.
So do you think a lot of the backlash was as a result of the campaign, not as a result of the product?
Yeah, I do. I think that's probably a big part of it. But honestly, like anything, all we can do is listen to the customers, listen to the feedback, see what they have to say, and that's what we've been doing for the past several
Yeah.
months. The challenge is we did a lot of that to start with. We talked to a lot of people. This didn't come out of thin air. We didn't just pop a website up. This was something that we've been working on since June of 2020, and with a bunch of different individual simmers. I mean, you saw anyone who is on there, anyone's logo's on there. They've seen the site, they looked at it, they helped produce content for it. So lots of people were all saying this is a great idea. And then, obviously that doesn't necessarily play out quite as well in real life. So we adjust and we continue moving forward based on that feedback.
Obviously, we did see in the early days of FSA, we did see a few developers, like Indie Builds in particular, who did pull out. I've seen I was looking on your site before we went live. There are a few new developers that have came on board ever since. Do you feel like that is just part of natural flow for that sort of thing, or do you feel like it was a result of that backlash?
So Ubaid and I had a great conversation on the phone a little bit ago, and I think it was just around that time actually. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the way he handled that. Look, like us, right? He's got to listen to his customers. That's what he felt folks were saying and was the right thing to do. He had a wonderful conversation with me. He didn't just say publicly on a tweet somewhere, what a terrible idea. We're not doing this. He came to me and he's like, look, here's the situation. I think this is a great product. I'm going to recommend it to people, but it's not right for our audience at the moment, and he was really, really supportive about it. That's great, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. Obviously, I'd love for them to come back on board at some point, but at the end of the day, the 10% off discount, as we have since seen, is not a huge motivator, and nor should it be. Like, there's other reasons to subscribe, and we'll get into what those are. But I haven't really spent a lot of effort trying to reach out to new software developers. There's just so many out there. There's so many stores. I think where we can have a real value is in the hardware. So we've been really focusing on the hardware side of things, but I've done zero outreach to partners. So folks who've been added since the launch, they've just sort of discovered us. They've looked at the website. They've said, this is a great idea. I want to be involved. We are going to do some more outreach, but that hasn't been our focus right now.
So we did see very early on after the launch that you guys did speak out and you did respond. And we're going to look at this later, especially in comparison to what we've seen from other developers in the community. What was the key thing you felt had to change following that launch?
We did a lot of things. We had a number of conversations with, basically everybody. So I think the biggest thing that we did coming out of that was we said, okay, we didn't get this right in the first round. Let's talk to people and really understand what's up. So we had a big conversation on our Facebook page. We had, I think, 3 or 4 different group calls with developers, content creators, regular simmers that probably spent about 2 or 3 weeks. We really tried to listen to the feedback and understand what people thought would be interesting and meaningful, and then to implement those changes. A number of things changed. One of them, probably the biggest one, was the model. So, originally people thought we were charging for content. That was actually never the intention and never the case. So we've made that even more clear by just making that free account continue on forever, as opposed to having an expiration date on it. And that's been the biggest change. People have really appreciated that. We've also gone and done massive updates on our content by listening to comments that you guys have made, by listening to comments on various threads across the internet. We did a survey with about 150 content creators, super experienced simmers. And what was really interesting, actually, we sort of, in the survey, we asked all the questions about, how's the website structured, what's the content there, and the results totally validated the content. So that was really nice for us. And so we have a really good sense that, what's up there is not just one simmer's opinion. It's not just my idea. It's grounded in the Navigraph survey. It's grounded in other survey data from simmers. That's what's important to me, because there's lots of people who do great stuff on Twitch and great stuff on YouTube and say, here's the add-ons that I love. Phenomenal. Keep doing that and keep talking to those people and keep watching those people and supporting them. However, what we're trying to do is not say, here's the best this or here's the best that. Here's what's out there. Here are the top picks as per, a survey or as per some sort of reputable source. And then here's the partners who decided to sign on.
And do you feel like since you've made those changes that there has been more positive feedback with regards to the FSA, and or is there still some of that doubt that remains in the mind of some?
I mean, if it's out there, and I'm sure it is, folks haven't really brought it to my attention, which is a good thing, but something I'll talk about in a little while as well. Generally, it's been really positive. So we're just about 100 or so accounts shy of 3,000 members, which is really exciting for us. And of course, those would be both first officers, so the free account, as well as those who've upgraded to captain. That's phenomenal for us. I want to focus a little bit more on like some of the stuff we've done, and I'll talk about sort of why I think we've been able to make some impacts. But generally, the feedback's been positive. I'm sure there are people out there who still think it needs some more time to mature. I'm one of those people who thinks it needs a bit more time to mature as well. But by and large, the feedback's been very positive ever since we made those changes. And from the interactions I've had with people, what I'm hearing from you guys, so far so good.
So I've got a question with so what did you expect? What was the reaction you expected? How many people did you expect to sign up for this? Did you
I,
expect to have this many? Was it What's the thing called? Captains, the subscription, the paid subscription.
Honestly, we've been saying from day one, like, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think
Yeah,
we've ever had anything like this in the community. So Phil and I were basically saying, it's going to be great or it's going to be a flop. We don't know. Don't think we were quite expecting, the initial reaction, but by and large, didn't have any projections. This isn't like a, standard business plan where we're like, we need to make X amount of money by this date. It really was just something we wanted to
yeah.
do
You
kind
just
of for
didn't know.
fun
Yeah, yeah. You
and
didn't
see what
know.
happens and launch it and see where we are.
Yep.
So, one of the things that came along on your site, which I think I affectionately refer to as Flight Sim Tinder on a
Yeah.
podcast, was Simmer Search. Firstly, just for those who I know there are concerns that raised in my Discord about safeguarding and stuff like that, making sure those younger members of the community are safe with something like that. Could you just talk a bit about the measures that you've put into place to ensure that people don't get into the wrong sort of ways
Yeah.
as a
Well,
result of
firstly,
using the feature?
yeah, so this came about as a conversation I had with a gentleman named Bob, who I met at Flight Sim Expo in Orlando. And he said sort of what I've said to you. He's an older gentleman, not super familiar with computers, but really interested in simming and really interested in becoming a pilot or continuing with his license. And he sort of said, look, I mean, I just don't know computers. Like, I plug in this yoke and sometimes it doesn't work. Can I just find someone who could, be nearby and actually help with this stuff? And we're like, that's an interesting idea. This is someone who's part of VATSIM, who's coming out to these events, and he's still saying, yeah, I got lots of friends in the community, but they're all over the place. I mean, what about someone who's like local to me in the area of Florida that I live?
But
That's what
just
the research
relating
was
back
born from.
to the younger members of the community, so I've
Yeah,
just gone
yeah.
onto my page and I'm seeing there are quite a few people who are between the ages of 13 and 20. Obviously, in the UK, under the age of 18, people are still children. What measures have been put in place by you guys to safeguard?
Yeah, so there's a specific opt-in that you can't get into Sim Research unless you've A, got a subscription, and B, you've specifically opted into a separate area of the website where we're saying, hey, make sure you pay attention to what's going on here. And we've given people some warnings. We've had those warnings looked at by some legal folks to make sure they're legitimate. And the way it's structured is specifically designed to make sure that you can't tell who's a minor and who's not. That's why it's 13 to 20 and not something like 13 to 18. And that age is different in every country, by the way. So there's some challenges around that as well. But look, I mean, you probably were a little young for this, but did you remember when there were phone books?
I do actually.
Right? So
I
that
remember
was an
doodling in
address,
them
phone number,
when I was.
and everything else you could find about somebody. And all we're saying is, hey, here's someone who's somewhere between 10 and 30 miles from you. You don't know where they live. You just generally know their area. And if you want, here's their email address. That's all it is.
And are there things that are going to be coming soon to Simmer's search that will potentially make it more of an enhanced experience? Because I know I called it Flight Sim Tinder, but I do see the potential, and like you say, of the idea. Is there anything you guys are planning to bring to it soon?
I mean, I'd love to be able to one day sort of form that into little chapters. And this is not like tomorrow. This is, 5 years, 10 years from now. We've already got some flight sim clubs hanging around. What if there could be one of those in lots of the major cities? What if you could actually go and hang out with people on the weekend and actually just like do what we do at Cosford and do what we do at Flight Sim Expo? I think that'd be really cool. Have to see if it works, have to see if it's popular. If Sim Research is something people are using, we'll keep doing it. If it's not, we won't. Don't really know. It's probably too soon to say. I don't think we have anything specifically planned for it, but if people liked it and wanted to use it and sort of have ideas, we'd be open to implementing them.
Thank you for that. What would you say, moving on a bit to about discounts? So, obviously when the site launched, there was a lot of 5-10% discount, and I know you said about hardware being the key factor in this. Do you think people got turned off the idea by saying, oh, I get a 5% discount of Warbex, that's hardly nothing? Because I know when we discussed it in the first episode, I think Tom or me said, wait for an Orbex sale. Stuff like that.
Well, it's 20% on Orbix, by the way. But yes, I agree with you. Like that's,
I think that's
if you want to wait for the sale, you're going to get a better deal. No question, right? Fair enough. And there's lots of people who are like that. There's also lots of people who are like, I don't want to wait for the sale. I want to buy this product today. Or I'm doing a new build. I want to buy a bunch of things. And you know what? Again, on the software side, like it's not really about the discount. It's actually about supporting the developers. So if you buy it directly through the developer's website, you're supporting them because 100% of the money goes to them versus some percentage going to a store versus some percentage going somewhere else. But I'm with you. I would like there to be a 50% off discount. I would like there to be a 20% off on Orbix that stacks on their 50% off. That's going to take a really big amount of people buying stuff for me to go convince Orbix of that. Otherwise, they may as well just go in the MSFS store and do that. Fair enough. Again, I think it's really the hardware piece. So if I could say to you, you would spend $3 to upgrade to Captain, but you're going to save $45 on the yoke that you're going to buy. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So one thing that has been, now once you guys have made the content and made those accounts last more than 30 days, and they are now infinite length accounts, one thing that sort of made me quite interested, I'm sure Ryan's had a look as well, is about the webinars.
Yeah.
So when you choose what's going to be a webinar, what do you think what was the main thing behind the idea of a webinar?
So there's actually two sort of main things that we're doing, and we're really just trying different things and seeing what works. And I think in the last 2 days we've seen great examples of what works. Maybe actually the last 2 weeks. So yesterday we had Aerosoft on. I think this is a great example. Aerosoft, to my knowledge, has never done a live stream before, and if they have, it wasn't in recent memory, and they didn't even remember it. And Matthias was there with his glass of wine, drinking and talking about the future of MSFS add-ons. That's not like the standard thing that's going to be appealing to every simmer. There's only a subset of people who actually care about the business side of the community and who really want to learn how this stuff is released. So if you're, looking for the latest top release, or you're looking for preview pictures, that's not what this is about. This is more like, what is one of the top companies and the biggest companies in our industry think about the future of our industry. It's a subset of what people might be interested in. It's not the same as going on Twitch or YouTube, but that's sort of part one. And that's like toward the experienced, mature, serious simmer, maybe some of the folks like you guys who are like, I want to know what Aerosoft is thinking. That's the kind of thing that we'd like to be able to do. You want to react to that, Ryan? Because I see there's a hashtag trending with letting you speak. So.
Oh no.
Come on, there's your chance.
So I just
for
got a
it.
question for webinars. I think just if people don't know what that is, don't want to just say what in the simple what actually is it,
Yeah, so what that is it's Matthias, who's the product and customer support manager from Aerosoft, doing a presentation like you might see if you're someone who's in school. It's kind of like a lecture from a teacher, right?
Yeah.
It's him giving a PowerPoint presentation on the future of flight simulation. That's different than what you guys do.
Yeah.
I'm not interviewing him. I'm not asking him questions, right? It's different. It's like what you might see at Flight Sim Expo or at Cosford, where a developer is up on the stage giving a presentation. The audience can ask some questions, but it's not interactive. We're not reading the chat. It's just a sort of a totally new thing, really, in our community.
Yes.
And what we'd love to be able to do with that, and this is not tomorrow, this is in a little while from now. What I'd love to see is some cross collaboration. So, like, what if we could have Microsoft, Lockheed, and Laminar come on and talk about the future of Flight Sim? And by the way, we've actually done this at Flight Sim Expo minus Microsoft because they weren't around at the time. What if all three of them could debate the best sim? And if all of them broadcast it on all of their YouTube channels, and if content creators watched that and reacted to it with their following, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So
it does seem like a good idea.
sorry, Ryan, go on.
No, go Karen, ask me that.
So speaking of the future of Flight Sim, before the show, we were talking a bit about where the community is moving, and this sort of leads on to the discussion that I know everybody wants to hear what we think. So I remember when I first bought the Aerosoft Airbus back in 2013, I think it was, for FSX, and I remember I could push all these buttons for the first time, and they worked. And then now the FS Labs, and everything's really, really well modelled. And you were saying before we went live about the trend towards not everything has to be as real anymore. Do you think that's the sort of direction the community is going in?
I hope not. I think I love the fact that we're extra realistic in this community. I love the fact that we have that detail. Maybe there's some parts of that Microsoft fan base that are kind of just like, I want to fly over my house. And so for them, a mostly their airliner that kind of supports SIDS and SARS is good enough. And maybe, developers are going to say, well, I just want to chase that money. So that's where I'm going to go, because that wouldn't be a bad decision for them. And hey, if it gets us better products because they have more money to spend on stuff, like that's cool. But I do think there's a lot of people out there I talk to, predominantly 95% of people I talk to, they're all serious simmers. They don't want to get into this because they want to fly over their house in MSFS. They get into this because they want to use it as a training aid. And briefly, because I don't want to spend too much more time talking about this, the other big thing FSA is doing, we talked about sort of the Aerosoft webinar. The main thing that we're doing is working on new simmers. So we had about $5,000 in Captain subscription revenue that we got after the first couple of months. We took some of that money, small part of it. We then spent it on advertising, specifically targeted toward new simmers. So people who are pilots, student pilots, gamers, but like serious gamers. And we said, hey, come to this webinar and we're going to present to you how to set up a home sim from like step one through to something decent. And it was like we presented not just like the super expensive thing. I just said, hey, download a freaking sim, go spend $30 on a joystick and like get started. That's as complicated as it needs to be. We got about 60 of those people in that webinar who said they're brand new to flight sim. They found us because of our ads. That is the whole point. Take money from the community who want to support us, take that money, get new simmers, bring them here, show them what's going on, and then show them to you guys or show them to somewhere that gets them really, excited about what they're doing.
Definitely. Just on a more general note, so someone's just put in your live chat at the moment, any sim is rubbish without add-ons.
Yeah.
And I personally think at the moment, yeah, I think Ryan will agree when he was helping me set up my X-Plane. There's a lot of stuff I had to download.
Oh, many. You need add-ons. You
Still need
can't
to sort out
survive.
Reshade, don't I?
Oh god, yeah.
So we have these sims which can look amazing. Like P3D, people say looks amazing, but they also don't like the fact they have to spend small countries
So
worth
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on add-ons.
Ridiculous.
And even with X-Plane, add-ons are
Oh,
expensive.
yeah. I thought going to X-Plane, I thought I didn't have to, because I was the same between P3D and X-Plane. I went to X-Plane because I knew I could probably afford that. It's not as expensive P3D. I didn't have to buy every airport I flew to because it's good freewares and that. And I've realized, I've spent a lot of money in X-Plane. They're both really expensive. They're both. I would say they're both both really expensive. Um, yeah.
So do you think the direction of Microsoft Flight Simulator is taking us a bit away from that? Because we're already starting to see the price of add-ons drop. If we saw that from day one, do you think slowly but surely we're starting to move away from add-ons being an essential part of the simming experience?
Again, I hope not. I mean, FSX was never like that. FSX was, the default version of that is not usable without add-ons.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're going to see that really change. Will there be part of the community that wants to fly it on Xbox or that just wants to, download it and fly simple? Yeah, I mean, I think there absolutely is that sort of mentality. Lots of people fly Infinite Flight on their tablet. Lots of people are probably going to download Aerosoft's new little sort of intro glider simulator thing that they have coming out this week. So there's definitely those people, but I don't think that sort of hyper realistic sort of, let's not use the word study level, right? But that crowd who wants those things, I think that there are always going to be developers out there making stuff for them, because the truth is those people are going to spend the country's worth of money, like you said, right? You're not going to get someone who downloads Flight Sim on the Xbox to buy a $80 airliner add-on, but you will get someone who's serious about it. And I think as long as that market is out there, you're going to see developers keep working on it. Might be that there's a bit of a blip now, but I don't think we're going to start seeing, half-baked airliners that don't have an overhead panel. I just don't think people are going to want that.
So do you think that freeware add-ons might not begin to take the place of payware add-ons? So like we've seen with the fly-by-wire A320, and what we're going to talk about later is the Aerosoft A320 is now the back of their priority from what they've said. Do you think these freeware add-ons are starting to take the place of some of the add-ons we previously had to pay for in legacy simulators?
There might be a component of that, and I mean, we'd all love it if that was the case. What's happened with Working Title is like phenomenal, right? Now they're freeware, but they're sort of payware because they're working for Microsoft. I'd love to see more of that, and obviously, I'd even love it more if in the default sim, you could actually get totally a great, default experience. Not sure we're there. I think X-Plane's probably the closest of all those three. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's like, what do you think about that question?
So say again, what do you think?
What do we
The
think
question
about?
was just yeah. So go ahead.
What do we think about freeware add-ons potentially taking the place? I'm sorry, my dad just came in there, and I was just trying to tell him to.
Freeware, I just don't see them. No, they're never going to take the place. I mean, you got MSFS. Come on, I mean, the 8020 in here is just not good. You know, do you think X-Plane on X-Plane 12
But the
they're going
fly, well, I'd say to that the fly-by-wire A320 is good, and it's improving rapidly.
to? No, but that's not a remember that's a still an add-on mod.
Yeah, but it's a freeware add-on mod. What we're
Yeah, I know.
saying is
So I
about.
mean, yeah, but then that's you saying the Zibo is a well, yeah. Would you count the Zibo as a default aircraft then?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see, what the real question, the answer to that question, sorry, is going to be in a year from now because we're already seeing it. People are going back to work. You know, COVID is kind of hopefully behind us. I think a lot of projects, like part of it is MSFS, but I think a lot of stuff that's happened in the past year has been folks who are off work, working from home, had more time. The question is how much of that is going to stay in the future. What and I'm not really like I'm not a like a developer and I'm not a payware guy. Like generally, I love free stuff. I think it's amazing how much we have that's free in the community. So I don't say this from the perspective of like everyone should spend money, but what makes developers make products is that they make money because if they make enough money, they can do this stuff full time and they can make more products. Like that's just how life works. If we just sort of rely on the freeware stuff, I just wonder, and I hope that it's not the case, but I wonder, will fly by wire be as big as it is? Will there be so many contributors in a year when folks are going back to work a little bit? Again, I hope they are because they've done amazing stuff for that airplane.
And finally, one last question because Archie is intrigued by it in the chat. What shirt is that? What airport is that on the shirt?
It is indeed Boston.
Yeah.
You can see it up there. Yep, it's Boston.
I think. Well, for one final question, what's the future?
Sorry?
The future of Flight Sim Association.
What's the future of Flight Sim Association?
Yes.
How far out in the future do you want me to go?
I'm saying like, what is your plan for the future? It's like.
I think there's a lot of potential for an organization like this, but I really think we're at an inflection point now where it's going to come down to the community. This is not my project. This is not a project that we want to sort of force upon people. It's what are people going to find interesting. For me, what I'd like to do in the next sort of 6 to 10 months is try to build something like that big kind of cross community, whether it's content creators on a panel discussion, whether it's add-on developers on a panel discussion, some kind of really big thing and see if people are interested in that. And hey, maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. I'd love to get some more developers on board. And then the biggest thing is I'd love to just work with that new simmer group. So again, we do a lot of stuff on the sort of real world aviation side. You might be surprised to know, like there's companies out there that charge $80 an hour to do consultations with people for building a flight sim. And you might be thinking that's crazy. Like why would anyone pay that? But you know what? It's a great service if you're someone who's a pilot who doesn't want to deal with all this stuff. Like think about how much time you spent helping, you were just talking about it, right? Helping him put X-Plane add-ons together. Like how long did that take?
It took. I mean, for me, when I first got X-Plane, it took ages for me to download all the libraries, all the stuff you need to start X-Plane. That's just the basic stuff. All the because on X-Plane you have like the freeware sceneries that like people people in the community make in the forums. You need like libraries like to download these, and there's so many of them to download. It takes ages. As you've got reshade and all that.
Yeah, and that's just like that's add-ons. Never mind buying a computer, buying a yoke, setting all those things up. For some people who aren't technical, like that's there's lots of people who don't own a computer anymore because like why you don't need to. Like if you have a gaming console or your TV can run Netflix, like
iPad Pro.
lots of people like right? Maybe you have a laptop, maybe you have a tablet. Like that's the idea to someone like I talk to people and I'm like, you probably need to buy a desktop, and they're like, I do. I'm like, well,
I
probably.
started off. I had a laptop up until last year, and then I got this PC. I obviously got this PC because of Flight Sim, but laptop I was on FSX. It was just not survive. It's not survivable.
You weren't surviving running Flight Sim until a few weeks ago when you got your RAM upgrade.
Oh yeah, okay, that was a whole PC. That helped up the whole PC. But like on that PC, like that, I mean, it's not even like an amazing PC, but it's cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And then just the amount of stuff I spent on Flight Sim. I recently got a new yoke and all that. So Yeah.
I don't wish to look at my bank account to see how much I spent on flight sim.
Oh
It is
god.
it is it is traumatic.
Explain.org store. I do not like see my orders.
Well, I've been in P3D, so it's
Yeah,
it's
you're
it's
even worse.
it's interesting. So
Well,
I think
and you think about it, just if it helps you, the average according to Navigram is about $400 a year that on a median basis people spend. So if you're around there, you're doing fine.
I'm above that.
I don't want to say, but maybe in the last 5 months I've doubled that. And
So
that's just on like in sim stuff.
so I will
That's not
tell you what, Evan. I threw the gauntlet out to you. I said, "Come on, prove your point," and I think you have won me over.
Aw.
And I think one thing I know marketing can be hard, and sometimes you get the wrong message out. You and I know you said it was off the cuff, and to be honest, I think in the context of the hype we have in our community, and the ability of our community as well, as we are going to discuss in a moment with CaptainSim, we are there, guys. Do not worry. It often comes down to perception rather than what the product is. And ultimately, what I like to see is that you guys have came out and admitted you made a mistake, which is sometimes what we don't see a lot of in this community. And you guys have actively worked to improve what you're offering. Now, a company that isn't necessarily having a good PR week is CaptainSim.
Yeah.
So CaptainSim this week released a new Boeing 777-200. Well, Ryan, do you want to take us?
It's not even a triple seven.
Do you want to sum up this 777?
Well, and it's terrible. You know, it's my no, it's not. It's a 74. It's the default 747. You know, it's a MSFS default. So it's I, obviously they don't care. They don't. They'll make it. Captain Sim are making it for the kind of new people on Flight Sim. You know, they know these people in MSFS, the new people to Flight Sim. They know they'll buy that. It's $30. You know, they'll buy that. It's a 777. They'll buy that.
So what I found quite interesting is this morning I woke up, I went in Ian Kenko's Discord, and I saw the Captain Scam 777.
I saw that
painted onto
that.
the PMDG. I think it was conveniently.
But it wasn't on
yeah.
flightsim.to, right?
Oh, it's the PMDG livery.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fine.
Am I jumping ahead? Okay.
No,
It was a bad joke about Captain Sim. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. Well, yeah, they've done that as well. They've had a go about livery making. So, I think the first thing is this 777 is not a 777. It just looks like a 777.
Have you seen the pictures for it? They've have to kind of displace. It's a 747. You know, someone asked, well, like, why is it not a 787? Why are they not based on 787 systems? Because obviously that's you know, you got to get MSFS. Is it premium? I think.
Premium Deluxe, yeah.
Premium Deluxe. Obviously, they're not going to base it off that. They're going to base it off 747, which everyone will have. It's just. They're getting so much money out of this. You know, they know they're gonna. They don't care. I don't think Captain Sim do not care about what people think about it. You know, they'll give money.
So
It's
Evan,
good for them.
would you buy that 777? I'm just gonna throw. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Come on, come on.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it's. I think for me, if I was looking for an airplane, I'm more of the sort of realistic. You know, I'm not going to use the term study level. I guess I can't say that anymore. But you know, I'm more of the realistic person. I'd like to see systems modeled. I'd like to see an airplane that could be as close as possible to flying in real life. Because I am an airline pilot. I have used the simulator in my training to fly at the airlines. I want something that is as close as possible. I want SIDS and stars. I want FMS. I want overhead. For me, that's what I'm looking for.
But I think Ryan sort of hit it, and Archie was saying it in the chat as well. They are preying somewhat on the naivety of people who are not necessarily there. They do state on their website, to their credit, they do state on their website that this is not a Boeing 777 model.
I know, but you have to do that.
It just looks like it.
They're doing it because they know that these new flight sims, they will buy this. They'll say, oh yeah, cool, 777 for MS Face, you know, $30, I'm buying that, you know, and then they go and they don't realize, they've not flown X-plane P3D. These people, they won't know what good aircraft are. Yeah.
I think the thing is, and conveniently, Delaney's just put it in the chat. I swear the chat is just like an auto queue at this point. It's great. But developers have a lot of trust put in them by the community. They are trusted to genuinely do the right thing. We may moan about the prices of products. I know I sat here and confidently said that PMDG 777 is overpriced for the 200ER expansion.
Yeah, I remember that.
If I had a hat, I would bite it right now, because PMDG at least modelled a new plane. They at least went to the effort to try and make it like the plane. And as well, with the massive, massive market that MSFS has available, I couldn't tell from the scale of the graph on the presentation from Aerosoft, but it's surely at least 100 times the market as a ballpark figure. Much bigger market.
Yeah, just to be clear, that graph from Aerosoft, so that's their estimates of what they think sales are. I mean, it's what I think. If I was to draw a graph, that's what it would look like too. So that is their estimates. It's not exact sales numbers, but they know their stuff. I think they have a pretty good sense as to what it is. I am of two minds on a lot of these issues. Like, I really do go back to hey, if everyone else is buying stuff, and if people are putting that evergreen ship that blocked the Suez Canal in Microsoft Flight Sim as a free download, if someone wants to fly something that looks like a 777, I mean, I saw comments that were like, "This is great for me. I don't care about the systems. I just want the thing that looks like a 777." I don't know, like they can buy it if they want. Doesn't really, I don't think of a new simmer as like so naive necessarily that they don't know there's other stuff out there. I do think that they're probably like informed enough to know that if they wanted something, they could find it. Part of the challenge is there just isn't that for Microsoft Flight Sim right now.
But even back in the days of FSX and P3D, where you typically knew you had to pay for a plane if you wanted it any better than default. The Project Open Sky stuff, for example, like you could get a model for Boeing 777 and it would be free. And I think the fact that CaptainSim, who have been around the Flight Sim community through all these stages, they have been around, I believe, since the early 2000s at least. I'm probably earlier, I need to double check the date. But the fact they've been around for so long, and as Delaney said in chat, they have a reputation. They're not my first choice. I don't own any CaptainSim products. But Bogan will tell me hand on heart how much he loves the 767.
Yeah, I think they do. They do have good 7675. Not too sure about this 777 people say. I think the 777's like obviously not as good version as the PMDG one if I have P3D, but
like they have a reputation, and they have single-handedly destroyed it with a lot of the legacy community, I think.
Yeah, I think those was almost about the news. They made a what was it 733? Pretty sure. Yeah, which got some interesting responses as well, because I think looking at it, it's not even.
I think Ian said it was just a reskin.
Yes, he got that.
And
it didn't look complete. It wasn't a complete plane, and I think that's when it started. Like I thought that was a bit dodgy. That ruined. It was nothing like it from 75, 76 that they've done before.
So, like we have seen, like not every developer's going to keep up their prestige forever. Like it's not like saying that FS Labs in 20 years' time will be the top dog of development. I think nobody would say that. I think certainly since I've been around, Evan will probably say the same. The community changes. New developers come along, developers go. But I think single-handedly in one move, CaptainSim, which was respected by the legacy community, like they're not your go-to quality plane, but they have a good model. They have an okay model, and they have okay systems, and they're known for those planes. And yes, it could be argued they have publicly stated it. That it is a Boeing 747. At least they've done that, and it might just be covering themselves up, or it might just be Delaney. Literally, what I'm gonna say. It's great. It's great.
I don't understand why are they.
I was reading my notes for this, and I was seeing quality over quantity. That is it. They have put themselves in the situation where they might actually just be saying, we're not going to bother making brand new models anymore. I think I was reading on the Discord. So, obviously, Discord rumours don't take as... I take with a pinch of salt. But that the CaptainSim team, I believe, has shrank in recent years, from what I understand. Because
Yeah,
they
I
used to be well known for 707. I think this is more... Evan, do you know much about this?
think.
No, we haven't had them out to the show in the past, and so I can't really talk to it. I will say that I did send them a quick email earlier today just to see if maybe they wanted to participate, and that's one of the things that I think we talked to early in the show, right? Like, let's give them the opportunity to talk about this if they want to, and if they choose that they don't want to, like, fair enough. One of the things that I love to just say is, like, so often I'll talk to somebody and I'll just be like, oh, I didn't see that side of things. I didn't see their perspective. That a lot of these people that are in flight sim, it may surprise you to know where they come from, what their backgrounds are. We have a lot of really, really smart people that may have left like 6-7 figure jobs to be in flight sim, and they're doing extremely well for themselves. So I'm not saying that's the situation. I'm just going to tell you, I can't give you an opinion. I'm not going to, speculate on what it is. I did try to reach out to them just a few hours ago. They didn't get back to me. So, fair enough, but at least we tried.
To be fair, I think CaptainSim are the only other organisation I have also thrown the gauntlet out to on the podcast and said, come on, explain the 737 Classic. But this is now the second low-quality aircraft that they've released in a row.
I wouldn't even call it low quality. It's just it's not.
It's a new model, and like that could be something that could be done on FlightSim.to. We all know now CaptainSim's opinion on FlightSim.to. Or Bogan, sorry, not Bogan. Ryan, do you want to take us through that very briefly while I just find stuff myself?
I'm not too much know about this, but I could actually just bring up the what was it?
I've put it in the notes. I'm just trying to find it myself.
Okay, yeah, I downloaded it. I don't remember that. So all three liveries for the 777 must be published via. No one is allowed to publish the 777 Captain 3 liveries elsewhere. Is this it?
Yeah. I found it now. So FlightSim.to, if you didn't already know, but I think everyone in the community knows who FlightSim.to are at this point. They are a source of downloading freeware add-ons for planes. So liveries, airports. That really nice graphic I have for MSFS is from FlightSim.to. 10,000 add-ons. So CaptainSim launched their planes, and like I believe you can get PMDG liveries. You can get for all the sims. Everything is on FlightSim.to. CaptainSim then sent a takedown request prohibiting, and in their words, this is prohibiting us from hosting user-generated content for the Boeing 777-200ER. They then point to their licenses, terms and conditions to justify this, saying that all three liveries must be published via ACE, and they can't be published elsewhere, and they are now claiming ownership of liveries from other products. I think, personally, for me, that's a big ethical no-no.
Yeah.
Did they write to all the airlines and this point keeps being jotted out again and again and again, but it's true. Did they write to all the airlines they have logos for? That they put on their default liveries?
No, they
Did they write to them if they have a freeware livery? Do they put in their ACE store? Do they get in contact with the people who own the copyright? No. They are claiming ownership.
Yeah.
They are claiming. This is where I think they've really shot themselves in the foot. And as I was speaking to Evan about this earlier, when you have a backlash, which they did have from the 777, and I know Evan said he's reached out, but there's only really one or two ways. Like the flight sim community will always be a very reactive community, in the sense that we're not like big games. We don't have everyone on the side. We have a wide range of people, not solely focused on one thing. But when something outrages us, you hear about it. Like, although I certainly have to say, I think the criticism of FSA was more because of overhype than rather because of a genuine issue with the product. they at least listened to the criticism. And I honestly think it was rather ironic that the news broke the week we decided to bring you guys on. Because you guys did show how to deal with a backlash. You listened, and then you actually... And this was a product that, in the grand scheme of things, for Flight Sim, isn't that expensive. They've released an add-on, and now they are stopping people from enhancing add-on. Even PMDG, who are known for having really strict licensing conditions. Like, you can't modify their VC. Even theirs isn't that strict. And they are threatening legal action. I think this says a lot of the direction of the company in the future. And is... How many buyer bewares have you seen on Discord recently about the CaptainSim? Ryan?
Yeah, everywhere.
Like,
It's absolutely, yeah.
We woke up.
Yeah, jeez, there was... what day was this again? Was it Friday?
I think it was it yesterday? 2 days ago.
No, it was Friday, I think. And everyone's just going crazy about it, you know. It's just crazy. I've just seen someone said that they think, I think who was it, Ellis has said to me that they think that this 777 model they've just ported it from P3D to MSFS.
And it's not like this is a new thing. Like, we have seen developers port stuff over before.
No, that just proves then that the whole plane is just, they've not done anything to it, you know. They've just ported it over and then added the systems to it.
Bogan makes a good point about saying, what's the difference between FlightSim.to and what's the difference between AnyBuilds doing it? I think, yes, AnyBuilds do quality check their stuff. AnyBuilds aren't faultless, admittedly, but they check it. But equally, I've paid for a plane. Why should I have to? Why should people not be able to help me enhance my flying experience? It goes against a lot of the ethos of the community. Like, we are in a community that wants to work together. We are a community that doesn't get a lot of fish thrown at us to make things better. And then we're not even allowed, people are getting told off for making liveries for planes. I'm honestly, I'll tell you what, I hope they haven't released that Captain Scam Boeing 777 via Ace yet.
And I'll give I may give the opposing perspective just because I'm sure some people are thinking it. And I saw a couple of comments around the 777 model saying this is great, like I love this. They may be smarter than all of us, right? Maybe they've latched onto something and they're like, no, there's a big crowd in Microsoft Flight Sim who loves this stuff, and they may well have a good reason for this. So I don't know them at all. I don't know if you guys know them. And again, we've sort of tried.
I have seen some of these, to be fair.
Yeah.
But then I've realised a lot of people have been introduced to, like Chewy, for example, Matt. He introduced a lot of people to CaptainSim. He will fly their products. He used to fly their products at release. He gave them a shot.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they're smarter than all of us, and they're going to walk away with, they can just dry their tears with $20 bills at the end of the year when they're selling well. I don't know. And hey, look, if people buy it, right, and if that's what some people in the community want, like that's fine. I really don't think we're at risk of losing FS Labs or losing PMDG to that. That would be a real shame. If there's like no study level add-ons anymore, if there's no realistic planes, that would suck. I don't think that's what this is, an indication of just yet. And again, it comes back to me, like I really truly believe there are people out there who are happy to pay $100 plus for like an airplane that's really well modeled. Yeah. We've seen that time and time again. As long as you people are out there and as long as you keep buying, developers are going to keep making them.
Yeah.
But surely one of the things, I think, speaking as a content creator here a bit as well, I know how developers want to see their products shown positively. And the reaction I have seen is near universally negative. Like, there are people who enjoy the model, and that is admittedly true. But I feel like what they've done through this is they've burned a lot of credibility with the release of the product in the first place. But then kicking off like they have with deliveries, and I don't believe there's been much of a fuss with CaptainSim liveries before. So only this time there has actually been backlash from CaptainSim, if you will. about people publishing liveries elsewhere. I'm just looking at Matt's tweet at the moment. Perfect example of how out of touch this company is with the community. That he wouldn't be giving a penny or another second of free advertisement to CaptainSim. Now, I've known Matt for a while. I know he's a fair guy and he'll give people a chance. But the murmurs I've been hearing is people fed up. And a lot of, while they will be on the Microsoft Store, the PMDG will ultimately probably be on the Microsoft Store at some point. Proper quality aircraft, like we do, as you were saying earlier in the show, there is a shortage of add-ons for aircraft at the moment. But when those came along, like I still almost said, even Jiraiya, who has planes I would never dare to fly, and he managed just to make them work. Even he gave up with this 777. I think it's interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see how they dig themselves out of the hole, because I think personally they put a JCB there and they've put it, they can't turn it off. I think it's time we probably move on to our next discussion, isn't it?
Yes.
I guess, and I'll just throw if
Yeah.
I can I just say one more thing, which is
Go on.
this is the role that you guys though play that's so important in the community. Like you, content creators, maybe FSA to some extent. Like our job as a collective of sort of flight sim content creators and news people is to help spread that message, right? So part of the, I don't know what the Microsoft Store is going to do. Are they going to do any kind of like, this is realistic, this is not realistic? I don't know. That would be great if they did. But that's what we can help, right? We can say to people, hey guys, this is one thing that you've seen, but here's what an actual 777 that might be a little bit more realistic would look like as well. And I think that's the role that we all play, is educating everyone. And I've just, you've seen it, we've seen it. Like, how many times have you seen somebody come in? When I started in FSX, I didn't know that you could actually hook the autopilot up to the GPS. I was fiddling with the heading bug, trying to stay on the magenta line.
I was same.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah. And there was no YouTube really back then. There was no Twitch back then. Like, I was on my own.
Windows XP machine. It was.
Yeah.
I've been flight simming for years and years. I used to FSX, so and it's not until like start of 2020 or end of 2020 till I kind of start to watch your Twitch, start watching like the flight sim communities, getting involved, and I learned so much stuff. What's good, what's bad. It's see what it was good also to like it's good for people to same kind of there's no one I could talk to that really had the same interest in me, knew flight sim and that. And then the stuff they said, and what good it's good to get what their opinions on and stuff are. Yeah, I think it's if I hadn't started watching Twitch and all that stuff, I would have not. There's planes I would have bought. I wouldn't. Yeah, stuff like that.
I think Delaney's also got on this on the chat. This wasn't in my notes, to be fair. So this is fair. CaptainSim will make money from this. That's a given. There will be customers who don't log onto Facebook, Reddit. This is true.
They've got. I reckon they've got thousands already. Like a few thousand from
people will just say 777. I've seen that before. I want to fly it, and I will buy it. Yeah, it's just a shame.
It's you're just wasting.
It's just a shame it has gone the way it has.
I've got a question. Does the CaptainSim 777 does that go in the Microsoft Flight Sim store?
I believe it is in the store. I can't
God's
remember.
Sake. That's just gonna. I mean, having the store in game, in sim, it's a interesting kind of thing on its own. But that people are just gonna see that and just buy it,
I think we're gonna put a Reddit discussion up later. If you guys haven't already followed the Flight Sim Weekly subreddit, r/Flight Sim Weekly, we are going to start using it properly. I promise. I have free time to set it up. So as well, we have sort of been messing around with how things look this week. If you're watching live on the show, you've noticed we've got a little bit of a new look. I really like this new split screen view. It looks so much nicer than what we had before.
Yeah.
It isn't in the store. That's good.
Oh, it isn't in the store. That's good.
Thing.
That's good. Because I reckon if it wasn't in the store, more people would buy it. More people would go into the store. Oh, $30. Boom. I've got that. 777. Boom. That's mine. Don't look at the reviews. Yeah.
So,
but you know what? If they do that, and then they discover that actually there's a more realistic 777 or whatever
Yeah.
from somewhere else, that can only help us. Like I actually do believe that the rising tide lifts all boats, and what Microsoft has done. I mean, look at what Microsoft has done in our community. Whether you love that sim or you hate that sim, you can't deny that it spurred everyone to get back into simulation. And it
Yeah.
spurred so much other activity.
I got back
right?
to it because of MSFS.
I
There's
think
so many people like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I actually was when I was thinking a new PC. I was the main kind of reason was because of Microsoft Flight Sim, and obviously I
How
went for
many
X-Wing
PCs
instead.
have been built around the spec
I know,
list
I
of
know,
Microsoft
I know.
getting recommended specs?
You can
Yep.
search up, PCs for Microsoft Flight Sim. They've got some specially built just because they're good for that.
I think it's time we move on. And next, we're going to talk about someone who has already developed for Microsoft Flight Sim. They've already released the CRJ, which is I'm tempted to get soon. I'm slowly leaning to getting the CRJ, but that's something for another time.
It's quite interesting yeah.
Aerosoft though have talked. They talked about the other day, and Evan clarified this to me before we went live, which is very, very thankful. So Aerosoft have been talking about their priorities and what they're going to develop, and so the first is going to be the 900 1000, I believe, the CRJ. Then
That's
followed
what
by the
Matthias said to me yesterday.
Twin Otter, then the A330, and then the A320. So what we're talking about is whether why the A320, which for the longest time has been one of Aerosoft's biggest products, like certainly before the FS Labs came along. How long has that A320 been out for in some form or another? Because I think it's
Oh yeah, it was
2011
Oh Jesus!
that the Aerosoft first released an A320. It certainly got me into payware add-ons.
I think that was everyone's. I think that was a lot of people's first kind of aircraft. I'm pretty sure on FSX and P3D V3 V2.
Those were the days. Evan, out of interest, what was your first payware aircraft?
I don't remember. I don't think it was the NGX, but that's the one I remember because I've just loved it so much. And I'm talking about the original FSX version, of course. I don't remember what the first airplane I ever bought was. If I think about it, I'll let you know. I have no idea.
So one of the key things is though that Aerosoft have now publicly said they are going to be developing their first Airbus for MSFS will be the A330 instead of the A320, and you're sort of discussing, is this sort of a missing defeat to Fly-by-Wire? So Fly-by-Wire came on the show a few weeks ago and they said publicly, we want to be FS Labs level quality, we want to beat them, we want to be great. And obviously Aerosoft, I think they would say it themselves. They're not aiming for that section of the market. They don't aim for that super high-end section. Like the F-Slabs, you have everything, pretty much. Like the Sharklets, the backup speed scale, I think, is one of the things I noticed. Katie Pilot, who appears on the podcast a few times, mentioned it, and a few weeks later, it was implemented in the Sharklets. They implement those little niche things. I think it's fair to say Aerosoft don't do that. They think back when they launched the A320, they publicly said that they're not going for ultra realistic. They said they're going to make a plane that flies, not going to bother with all the failures, if you will. And I sort of just wanted to foster up a little bit of a discussion. Why is the A320, which has been a staple for so long, being sort of sidelined by Aerosoft? Do you guys have any thoughts?
I'm not the person to ask. No, I'm not. No.
Explain.
Yes,
Are
explain.
Tolis developing for MSFS at some point?
That's not even no. They're right now. Toast are going for the 340, which I'm so excited for, and I know they're going to make a good job of that, and I'm going to get by that. Yeah.
So in the chat, Delaney's saying about they're not Aerosoft quality yet. I think they're working towards it though, and once I think LNAV is the knot they have to crack. Evan, what do you think about this?
I'm not going to speak for the developers. My answer would be, you should have asked Matthias that question yesterday during our webinar, that would be my answer. And that's always my go-to. I'm not a content creator, right? So you guys can give your opinion. I really can't do that. I'm more sort of someone who just tries to bring everyone together. So if someone's wondering that, Matthias is on the Aerosoft forums. Go ask him. I mean, he'll probably answer you. He's super active there. That's my guess. If you really want a thought from me, and I can just speak generally, I can't speak to what is Aerosoft thinking. But I can say what would I do in their position, okay?
Yeah,
there's a free thing out there, and it's super popular, and it's got a lot of views on YouTube. There's another developer out there who's already making an A320 for P3D that's super good. There's another one that makes an A320 for X-Plane that's super good, and either of those could potentially be ported. So if it were me, and I'm looking at all that competition, I'm going to say, well, maybe I should focus on something that really nobody else has done that is also kind of close to another airplane that I just did quite successfully, and I'm going to do that first. If that were me, that's probably what
I think you've hit the nail straight on the head. There is a lot of competition in the A320 market, almost at this point, which is surprising considering the A320 is a difficult plane to model.
But it's such a ubiquitous airplane, though. It's like the 737. There's going to be people who will buy. If there's 4 or 5 or 10 versions, there's going to be people who will buy them because that's a great airplane. It's so versatile. You can do anything with it.
I think. Go on.
My point is, why is I'll say an X-plane. Why there's a Flight Factor A320, right? And I just don't understand why Flight Factor. Obviously, I don't know if you know, but they've made the 7. What have they made? They've made 7.5, 7.6.
Yeah,
the 777, which is an X-plane, yeah. But then they decided to move and create an A320, which people have different opinions on it. And I just don't understand why there's not another developer coming in. I don't understand why Taurus aren't making one. I mean, yeah, they're concentrating on A340, but why they're not making, if you go from the Taurus A319 to the Flight Factor A320, they're two completely different. Even though they're the same. In an Airbus, it just seems completely different.
I don't think X-Plane or MSFS for a while are going to see the standardisation that we've seen with the FS Labs.
No.
Flight models are reflective. No. They're always...
I don't think Flight Factor are going to update. The updates are really not that good, no.
I mean, I think Katie was telling me about V1 INOP being a feature on the Flight Factor. It doesn't actually exist in the real plane.
Yeah, there's a few things as well that I've noticed that I know I'm not a real life pilot, but I've noticed in the Flight Factor A320s things I can do that I'm not meant to do. It's just not real, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, they make Boeing aircraft, Flight Fighter, so I don't know. I don't know.
I think generally that's sort of one of the things. I'm going to get rid of that headline because it's completely misleading on the stream. I think you guys in the chat have got some brilliant comments about this. And again, we're going to put a discussion about this on the subreddit. If you guys are watching on podcast, again, r/FlightSim Weekly, we want to hear what you guys think because we want to make sure that you guys are going to have an opinion. We're hopefully going to be inviting, we've hopefully got TFDI Designs coming on next week to speak to us about their planes.
Nice. Josh or Colin?
It's Josh, hopefully.
Nice.
That reminds me, I do need to email Josh back about that again.
I love those guys. They've been really supportive of us. X1FSA.
I met Josh through VATSIM, and honestly, he's one of the most chill lads you will ever meet.
Yeah.
So in the chat there, you guys have got some great comments about. They do have a really good fly-by-wire implementation. LNAV, VNAV is definitely something that needs to come soon. They are working on that though. I think the thing is, there may not be the energy to keep it going forever. And I think Laney's just become an analyst with all these views, honestly, because I'm just agreeing with them constantly. Tino Star's going on about driving up competition. I think definitely. The more competition. But there's the thing. So before the stream we were discussing Flightbeam, and I know how much we want, I want someone else other than Aerosoft to make Heathrow. I want to see a new Heathrow for PVD.
I haven't seen anyone for X-Plane, but
that's not because the Aerosoft one is the worst one, but I think there are other developers who could do it better and do it justice. I think competition to some extent works a lot, but at the same time you don't want it to become too competitive. It's like if we had 5 versions of Heathrow, is my example, then I could be saying I want to go and fly to Boston. I had to stop myself going into an accent there. It was quite embarrassing. But if I want to fly to Boston, but nobody made Boston, and then that would be like, oh, why is nobody making Boston? Boston's a great airport. Because they're all too busy making Heathrow. I think you've got to find a balance, really.
Yeah.
Of which is actually the best way to go. I think we've just got one more thing, really. Actually, there's two more things we've got to talk about today. Firstly, it's the PMDG 777. Sorry, not the 777. The DC feels so weird talking about a plane on the podcast. It isn't the 777.
Alright.
PMDG did do a release the other day about... Evan's got the link up as well, I think. Do you want me to just drop it over really quickly?
Me? No, go ahead.
Yeah. So,
I was just looking to see how many subscribers they had on YouTube after like 2 days.
So yeah, firstly, PMDG have launched a YouTube channel. A YouTube channel. There's the thread. And they have some really cool stuff. Like, Robert has... For as long as I've been the part of FlightSim, Robert has communicated through these forum posts which are worshipped. But now there's a YouTube channel. I've never heard his voice before. It's weird.
He was at Expo. I met him. He's a cool dude.
I need to come across the pond to Expo at some point, honestly.
You do. He gave, well, that was when he announced global flight operations, and so we can talk about that if we want to. And in terms of that, I got compared to that with the whole something big is coming. But he gave a really, really cool presentation. I mean, in terms of someone who speaks really well and like is just totally like a professional guy, I mean, it was really fun to watch.
So the DC6 is coming soon. Jorg is saying in chat, save your money from don't buy the CaptainSim, but save it for the DC6.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we went from a few weeks ago where everyone was saying, don't buy the 777, it's a waste of money, to now, to save your money, buy the DC6. It's interesting to see how things change. But the DC6 is looking like it's going to be PMDG's first aircraft to be introduced. They've also talked about a lot of other things that I'm noticing that we have waffled on quite a bit today, which is good. At the same time, I realise my dad wants me to go and cook dinner. They're also going to be updating LNAV, flight directors and nav data. They said that's finally reaching beta testing. I haven't noticed too much of an issue with PMDG's LNAV. It's certainly better than a lot of things. But I think it's to do with more modern procedures, I believe the issue is with. Global flight operations, it might be finally coming soon. I wonder, so that was announced in what, 2018?
2018 in Vegas, and it was by far the most popular presentation that we had there. And
I did kind of want to say, it's been so drawn out. I almost remember, I don't think the FS Labs was drawn out for a while when it was coming. Like, it wasn't the quickest to be developed, the FS Labs.
Oh, it took a while for it.
Global flight operations, I think, has the potential, once it comes out, to really change stuff. But it'd be interesting to see. I would love to see, like Evan says about collaboration, if I could load my FS Labs up and use global flight operations to sync my aircraft with another BA A320, for example, because I am a BA loyalist for some reason. If I could do that, that would be amazing. I really would like to see that level of cross-collaboration. And I think it's something a lot of the community would like to see as well. How much of a pain would the DC6 be for that?
Yeah.
It'll be. It's not that slow, is it? It's not that slow.
Oh no, it's. Imagine seeing lots of DC6 flying around. You know.
It'll make Heathrow a more interesting place.
Oh god. Oh god.
We're used to it at Boston. We get a lot of slow and slow stuff. We have Cape Air, which is like a twin engine sort of commuter operation that comes in and out of there. So fortunately, we're used to it, and we kind of have the runways for it. I can't imagine what Heathrow would be like.
Heathrow, we don't.
No, you do not. You do not.
We do so much on two runways, but they really are suited to doing one thing, and that is 160 till 4.
Yep.
So the key thing is, though, PMDG are going to be here with some products for MSFS soon. June is their ETA they put out. End of June is the ETA. So I think that's close, and it'll be interesting to see what a PMDG product is going to be like in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And last but not least, well, Ryan,
Yes.
You know, we were talking about the other day, planes being hyped.
Yes.
What plane has been cancelled this time?
It was the seventh.
I think it
What
was
was
the
it? Seven,
737
737.
Classic.
737.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
CGN has... CGN is a developer that was working on the 737 Classic for P3D and Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's been covered a lot by FS Elite, which is why I sort of got to know of it. But I think it's been cancelled now, and I think it links back to the thing that we see a lot of planes being promised. We see the Earth being promised, and then we never see the end result in a lot of planes. Because it is easy to create a model. I think every developer we've had on has said it's easy to create a model. What's hard is to make it actually work.
Yeah, that's the main. Yeah.
How many A380s have been promised since you've been around in
Do
the
you
flight
remember
sim community ever?
Matt Davis? What was it? Matt Davis A380.
I think
I think that's enough.
I think there's been at least 3 A380s promised, plus the current 2 we've got on the go.
What was the other? What was the other ones? It was obviously.
There's the next level simulations. Do you think there's a particular reason that there's a dropout in some aircraft development? Because I think the 380 is often because it's a hard aircraft to develop.
Oh, it's a big. It's I know. What was? Who
Not
else
just
you
a big
talking
plane;
about?
it's a big
Anybuild.
task to develop.
I think when you're talking to Anybuilds, they're just saying it is. No developer has managed to create a good like A3. I think there's what's it called, the Peter Hagens or whatever A380 for explain $60 and it's crap. That's all I can say. But the A380, there's no one's properly made a good model for it, or like a good plane. I should say model, good plane for it. So there's nothing to kind of, how do I say it? There's nothing to start with. Like if people, I don't know. But anyway, it's a big aircraft. It's a double.
There's no
decker.
real base. There's no really idea of how much of a challenge it will be.
Exactly. That's that. Yeah, like when when the A320 and that, like FSR, when they started doing the 320, obviously they know that the Airsoft A320 was there. They know that they can kind of build off that. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Evan, what do you think about the A380?
I think it's annoying to put planes 10 miles behind it on final on Vatsim. That's what I think.
With our reduced separation, even then it's still a pain.
I want to fly an A380, like just on flights. I think that'd be the.
I'm just worried because Heathrow will be full of them.
Oh no, but it's good. I mean, apart from like the what's it called?
You've got about 2 miles of separation between them.
Oh, but it'd be so fun to just fly like a long haul in it. Oh, it's just it'd be so good. Yeah.
It is kind of funny at Boston. There's only certain runways and certain taxways we can take it on.
Yeah.
So that does make it. It does make it interesting.
So actually, those who've watched my. Sorry,
I was going to say that's actually very much true in real life. We've been to the Boston TRACON in real life, and on their sort of situational map where they look out like 500 miles away, the A380 is actually a special color because it's like so much extra coordination and effort to deal with that airplane that like everyone looks and they're like, uh-oh, there comes the big red A380. It's just kind of fun. So it's a pain in real life too.
I know certainly from controlling. If anyone's watched my streams on Heathrow, they will know that. So we have those yellow lines. Those are our Code F taxiways where we can send A380s. Fortunately, we have a lot of them. Other airports don't. So that is it's certainly a challenge, and I wouldn't look forward to it. So you want to see 60,000 A380s going to divide the
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Tier 6 would love that. I think going back to the original discussion about planes sort of being abandoned, though, Delaney has got it on again. There are a load of modelers. And this is perhaps why we're seeing so much scenery developed for MSFS. Because it's just easy to get the models in and just develop loads of models and put them in the sim and sell a product. Whereas for making planes, it's a lot harder. So a lot of dropouts indeed. Anyway, guys, I'm afraid that is all we have got time for this week. Ryan, I hope you've enjoyed your first stint presenting the podcast.
Is it going to be the last? I don't know. Yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah, first time doing it. I didn't know how it was going to go. But
Thank you so much to Evan, who has also joined us for the podcast, and I hope he's enjoyed being on.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation. I'm glad you challenged me. I'm glad I could take part. Maybe I gave you a little bit of an insight into sort of what the world of developers looks like. Not that I'm part of it by any means, but I certainly talked to lots of those people and talked to lots of the real world community. So I was really grateful to be here talking to you guys. Gives us lots of great context, and thanks for taking the time.
We will be back next week. We might be changing time. We are going to do a poll about that because we want to basically see if we should move it out of dinner time. Depends on the contract negotiations with Man to my right, which I then point to the wrong side. But guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, if you have enjoyed this episode of Flight Sim Weekly, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment and subscription. We want to know what you guys want to hear about on the podcast. That is one thing we definitely want to know about. If you're watching on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, anything like that, make sure to drop a follow. It's really supportive. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's going to be, hopefully, we're going to be interviewing TFDI, Josh from TFDI next week. And yeah, it's definitely been a fun one.
It has.
So thank you for watching or listening, and good night.
Good night. Bye.